Here to break it down. How bad is it really? Republican strategist Rich Galen and CNN political commentator Charles Blow. All right, gentlemen, good to see you. All right, so Rich, you first. Is public opinion too harsh, or do they have it right? Should people be as disappointed as they are?
Well, people can be as disappointed as they want to be. I think that judging Congresses on how many bills they pass is like judging a cop on how many parking tickets he wrote. The one with the most parking tickets wins.
But is it just that, or is it also
there are a lot of other
there have
things
been,
that go into this.
a lot of contention?
There are a lot, Fred. There are a lot of other things that go into this, and it is. I think one of the issues that we have is that the nature of the relationships between members on each side of the aisle has changed dramatically since I first came to Washington in the late 70s, and I think Charles will agree that the notion of being able, when members lived here, their families were here, they would see each other's kids doing plays and at concerts. Those days are gone. Everybody goes home almost every weekend. They have nothing to do with each other, and it's a lot harder to I think just turn your back on somebody if you know them personally than it is if they're just another name that's on the other side of the aisle.
So Charles, what's happened? What's happened with the culture of doing business on Capitol Hill?
Well, I think Rich is right in one sense that the relationship piece is a big piece. But I think it's bigger than that. It's more philosophical in the sense that they don't agree on the priorities. And so if you don't agree on the priorities, it's really hard to get something accomplished out of that. And a lot of the priorities used to be kind of bipartisan priorities. So we build bridges and infrastructure and things like that everybody could say, this is just in the nation's interest, and we can at least agree to do these things, even if we disagree on some other kind of social issues or what have you. That is no longer even the case. And you have many newer members of Congress, almost all of them, Republican members of Congress, who basically, this is what they were elected to do, which is they were elected to go to Washington to stop Washington. There is a sentiment in the country, particularly on the right, that says that if Washington tries to do it, they will kind of foul it up. And the healthcare debacle has kind of fed that fire. And you may see even more of this coming out, happening in the next year and after the midterms, depending on how that turns out. So you can't, if you don't even agree that this is a problem, some people look at this and say, this is not a problem. This is exactly what we wanted you to do. Go make those guys stop doing things. And that is precisely what many of the newer Republicans are doing.
And Rich?
I think, Charles, that once we get through the majority of the filing deadlines, this is pretty far down in the reads. But once we get through the filing deadlines, where members don't have to worry about being primaried on either their left or their right, it may well be that they find some more things they can do. Obviously, immigration comes immediately to mind. But I think once we get past that era, which will be about March, April, May, that I think we may see more bills actually coming to the floor and getting across the rotunda and being picked up by the other chamber.
But I think many of the big bills are not, don't stand a very good chance of moving. And so there are things that the American people really wanted to see happen. These are big things, not like the small things that you could pick through the less than 60 bills that were passed this year and say, these are big things. These are not big things. But there were big things that most Americans, vast majorities of Americans said, this is something that we think should be addressed. Immigration should be addressed. Something should be done on the gun issue, whatever it is, no matter how big or small you think it should be. We think that something should be done. We don't want to see, rooms full of elementary school kids dead. We don't want to see that. So, but we can't even get these big things done. And when you have just today, you can't figure out how to do something about the millions of people who are losing long-term unemployment benefits, and it's this idea that they're just lazy people. No, that's a horrible thing to say, because we all know these people. These are our neighbors. These are people who go out, try to look for places, jobs, have a stack full of resumes on their desks, and they just can't find it because there's so few jobs to be had.
So
when you can't tackle that, that's hard on people. People see that and they don't.
So Charles,
like
will this be reflected in the midterm election results? And
if
so, how?
I still believe that the midterms are very far off. So I mean, we didn't even know that healthcare would be the deal that it is now. We didn't know that the government shutdown would fade so quickly from the public's perception. I think 9 months out is still a very long time out. So I'm not exactly sure how it will play out in the midterms. It is conceivable that you could have Republicans take control of the Senate. It is also even a longer shot that you could have Democrats, much longer shot actually, Democrats take control of the House of Representatives. But even if you do have Republicans, say, take control of the Senate, you still won't have them take control by a veto-proof majority. So
well, now you only need 51 for a lot of things, not 60 anymore.
Right,
so
right,
I wonder, Rich, then, if not for those kinds of incentives, those big issues, or not even midterms, are there any other incentives to have a new year and a new attitude for members of Congress? Rich?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I think not. As Charles accurately pointed out, when these members go, especially members of the House, go home to their very finely determined districts. By the way, when you make a Republican district more Republican, something has to happen to the Democrats. They go into Democrat districts, so they become more Democrat. And what happens is that they go home and they hear from the people that put them there, and that they want them to essentially continue doing what they want to do. And with Republicans in the House in control, what they want to do is, as Charles put it, stop government growth. And I think that's probably not a bad idea. So I don't think there is any incentive the way you put it. Unfortunately, I wish there were.
Okay.
But the tragedy is that we could be looking at a long stretch of time where this becomes the norm, and we do have large kind of national priorities that we should be tackling that probably will not be tackled.
I got to write 3 days a week. The last thing I need is an era of good feeling. This is good for me.
All right. Charles Blow, Rich Galen, thank you so much.
Have a great New Year, both of you.
Happy New Year.
You too.
Let's be optimistic about it.